In a world seeking lasting transformation, one name stands out. Chris Salem. Chris is a seasoned CEO, business executive coach, and award-winning author, drawing on over 26 years of senior sales executive experience. He also excels as a corporate trainer and radio show host. His approach centers on addressing the root cause of problems, not just managing their effects. As a business executive advisor, he guides clients in releasing these underlying issues and cultivating healthy habits for success. Chris's prowess extends to dynamic keynote speeches that inspire actionable change. He dives deep into the root cause, motivating audiences to elevate their personal and business lives. Unlike surface-level programs, Chris is committed to serving and training his audience rather than selling products and services. Today, Chris Salem takes us on a journey to explore creating lasting change, the role of social entrepreneurs in achieving the SDGs. TALtalks welcomes Chris Salem, who will invigorate us all with his impactful talk.
Well, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to be here at the University of Colorado. What a wonderful place. So I wanted to, hear from everybody here. When we look at social entrepreneurship, that's the intersection of business innovation meets social impact that plays a pivotal role in doing these things that you see in this circle right here. And what I'm going to discuss with you, no matter where you are, whether if you're a student, whether if you have been in business for 5 years, 10 years, maybe for 30 years, whether if it's a nonprofit or a traditional business, we can all play an important role in making this social impact a reality. So how are we going to go about doing that? See, the thing is, when you look about social impact, you look at things that have to change to make the world better, to make business better, to make living in our communities better. It starts with you. You. Would it be safe to say that a lot of times when we're looking for change, we're always looking for the change outside of ourselves? When somebody else steps up to do something, when a certain situation happens, is when I'll get involved in the change. A lot of times you see people reflect that through gossiping, complaining, pointing the finger at somebody else. What I'm going to share with you today is we have to begin, even at a young age. You being in college, you're the future leaders of our world. It has to start with not changing what we do to have different results. It starts with we have to think different. We then have to be it. And then we have to become it. Because if you don't build your foundation, what you're trying to create change and the impact you're looking to put out into the world won't have any legs to stand on. So how do you build your foundation? Well, it's going to start with how you think. So how do you think? When you're thinking, is that serving you? What is the voice that you're listening to each and every day when you wake up in the morning? Is it from your inner critic or your inner champion or a combination of both? Perhaps it's a combination of both, but which one are you listening to and why? Because if you're listening to your inner critic, that's the voice that now is reflecting from a place that you're thinking in the past and the future, from fear. Fear is just a trigger, a situation, perhaps a confrontation with a person, whatever that may be, will trigger fear that will create stress, anxiety, a level of frustration, feeling overwhelmed. And are we going to be in a frame of mind to be an impact when it comes to social change and looking to attain these sustainable development goals? No. We are only managing the problem. But instead of looking at these as obstacles, we can begin to look at them as opportunities. It's all in how we perceive and how we think and look at them. So it's a matter of learning to shift our mindset away from fear to being in the moment. Now, is that an easy thing to do? Not necessarily. It takes some practice. I know 25 years ago, I spent for the first 30 years of my life living from a place of fear. All of my decisions were made from fear. My confidence level was a direct reflection of fear. My self-esteem, how I communicated to myself and other people. my behavior, my attitude, my emotions and how I reacted to situations rather than respond. Big difference, I'll talk about that shortly. And then my level of action. See, I thought I was being proactive, but I was being reactive. We have to change the way we think if we're going to create more social impact, starting with you. We're not waiting for somebody else to do that, because you can only control yourself. You can't control other situations or people. And if you try to do it, believe me, I tried. And I gave a valid effort to do so, and it didn't work. Only to beat myself up over and over again. So I'm going to talk to you about how do you build your foundation. It's learning to shift our thinking away from the past and the future from fear. And oftentimes we experience that through what we call expectations. What happens with expectations? Anybody? What happens with expectations? For yourself and other people in situations?
Sometimes disappointed.
You get disappointed. So oftentimes, why are expectations that go unfulfilled and you feel disappointed? Because you're focusing most of your energy on what you can't control. I can't control the weather. I can't control the traffic. I can't control the economy. I can't control what's going on in my industry. But what I can control are certain things within me that I'm going to talk about. So it's learning to shift our way of thinking away from expectations tied to the outcome, these outcomes, and shifting our thinking into the moment, to the process. So what is the process? The process is what we call intentions. So you can control your intentions. You can't control expectations. They're beyond your control. So it's a shift in thinking and how we go about doing that. So let me share with you a little bit about what are the things that we can control. I want to hear from somebody, what would be one thing, I'm looking for 5 things that you can control each and every day as leaders in whatever role and duties that you have on a daily basis. Whether if you're leading a company, running a business, a nonprofit, you're a spouse, you're a sibling, you're a neighbor, you're a member of your community, doesn't matter. What is one thing that you can control each and every day? Your response. And response is a part of an emotion. We are responding from an emotion rather than reacting. We're going to talk about that, so that's great. So I'm going to talk about 5 things that we can control every day. Now you notice, I don't have slides. I don't like to use slides when I'm doing something for 15 minutes. I like to be interactive with all of you. So I can at least leave you something that you can walk away from. Just one thing, that's all. One thing for you. And what that thing is, there are 5 things I'm going to share with you that you can control each and every day that's going to help to shift your thinking into the moment rather than the past and the future. To see these not as challenges and obstacles and problems, but as opportunities. Because you can only grow and expand through challenges, obstacles, and problems. They're there for a reason. They're there to serve you, not work against you. But if you allow your stinking thinking to see it the other way around, that's exactly what it's going to be. And you're going to play a role, along with other people doing the same, just to magnify it, to make it bigger than it actually is. So what are the 5 things we can control? Number 1 is our communication. Would it be safe to say how you're communicating to another person? If you're not communicating in a healthy, effective way to yourself, do you think that will impact how you communicate to another person? Correct. There are 2 styles of communication. Passive, aggressive, or both. And oftentimes when you're a passive communicator, you have a tendency to go out of your way to please and enable people. You say yes to everything. Are you really serving people when you go out of your way to please and enable them? Well, you're just allowing them to stay stuck in what they're doing. They become dependent on you. And then their expectations will get bigger and bigger and bigger that you will never be able to measure and live up to. And you will be the fall guy every time. Only to exhaust yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Aggressive. They tend to be perfectionists. They have a hard time delegating. They have a hard time, talking to somebody. They talk down to somebody. We've all experienced that. I know that for a fact because I'm a recovering passive-aggressive. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and that's all I knew. I had to reprogram my way of thinking. It took me 3 years to clean the hard drive up here, and took me to replace it with a new way of thinking. And it changed dramatically. And I'm going to share a little bit about what we do in our nonprofit and how we help people to do that. Now, with that being said, passive or aggressive, or both, we can learn to be assertive. Assertive is an interdependent style of communication, not codependent. The ability to be specific, clear, and concise with our communication to ourselves and other people. Leaving no room, or very little room, for assumption and speculation. Would it be safe to say that most communication in the world, which leads to a lot of the problems we experience in our homes, our relationships, our schools, our communities, and our businesses, is because communication is based on assumption and speculation? Do you realize it can take just 20 seconds, whether you're the sender or the receiver of the communication, because you're always responsible, not somebody else. Be nice if the other person wants, but we can't control that. With that being said, you think that 20 seconds, if you asked a few questions to get more clarification, that could save a potential problem becoming bigger. Yet the reality is, most people in the world don't do that. This is not now the time for young people like yourself that are here. Even the people that are not young. I'm 56, I'm not young. We can all learn to make those changes, to make these challenges, now look at them as opportunities. We can control that. Number 2 is our behavior. Is our behavior in alignment with our communication? Many times people say things, but their behavior contradicts it. Is it assertive like your communication? When you have that harmony, it's never going to be perfect, no such thing as balance, but you're going to have that harmony. Your body language and your tone goes a long way compared to just what comes out of your mouth. Long way. People pick up on that energy. That's where your behavior plays a role in that. How you respond to situations and other people, not reacting. Number 3 is our attitude. It's happening for you, not to you. What does that mean? If it's happening for you, is that a good thing? So if I'm having a challenge or an obstacle or problem with any of these SDGs, is that something happening, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing? Just raise your hand if you think it's good. Okay, I got a gentleman right there. There we go. 2. Yes, it's a good thing. Challenges are necessary to grow and expand. If everything could go right and nothing could go wrong, we would become complacent, bored, and as human beings, what do? We create problems. That's what we do. We create problems. They're necessary to achieve great things and to make long-lasting effects on other generations to come. Every great leader understands that has to start with the thinking. So it's happening for us, not to us. If it happens to us, we are the victim. We use excuses. We point the finger. Number 4, she said, respond versus react. That's our emotions. Now, it's okay if something happens and you feel a negative emotion towards something. That's okay. That's just the body and telling you that something has to be addressed. It's unsettling, but you don't have to react from it. We are in control of our emotions, that we can learn to respond. I can take a breath and respond from a secondary emotion and then deal with the way I really feel on my time. I might have to remove myself for 10 minutes and then come back and then respond. Maybe I have to go home and sleep on it before I send that email. Because God forbid, if I reacted and sent that email, I might have said something I regretted that I would have loved to have taken back. But once it's been sent, it's been sent. And you have to deal with the consequences. We can control that. Number 5 is our actions. We can control our actions each and every day. You can't control what other people are going to do, but you can control what you do. And why would we be doing what you do each and every day? How could that have an impact on other people? How could that have an impact? Yeah. You're being the example. You're being a resource to help others do the same. Just like a child learns from what they grow up, what they observe in their parents, in what they say, what they do, their behavior, their attitude, their emotions, and how they respond, or in this case, a lot of times they react versus respond. And as children, we pick up on that, and that then forges itself later on when they become adults, that can play out in limiting beliefs, things that are going to be working against them, and things that are going to be working for them. I know growing up, I learned a lot of dysfunction. That's what I learned. I grew up in a house where there was a lot of yelling and screaming. I also grew up in a place where I had somebody who went out of their way to please and enable me, and I didn't know any better. Became codependent. Now, nobody's wrong. Nobody's, it's not my parents weren't good parents. They were great parents. But they just were repeating what they learned from their parents and passing it on from generation to generation. We have the ability to undo those patterns. And this is what's going to create change, to have people begin to see these as opportunities. And that it's a process. It's not the destination. It's about the process. That's all you can control is what you're doing in the process. You can't control the outcome. But you can control what you do in the process. But when you can be now a better example for yourself doing this for you, imagine what could happen in corporations. Instead of somebody saying, well, the middle management has to make these changes. Well, what about the upper management? Oh, we don't have to do that. Do you think that's going to stick? No. Everybody's got to be part of the change, starting with you. A nonprofit, the same way, no different. There are many things in a nonprofit that you can't control, but you can control what you do. And when you show up to be that example on a daily basis, each and every day, you're going to rub off on people in a positive way. Does that mean everyone's going to get it? No. You're not going to bat 1,000, but you will increase your batting average, so to speak. If I use that as an analogy, I'm a baseball fan. You are going to impact other people through those same 5 things. Your communication, your behavior, your attitude, your emotions, and so on. I know my time is up, but I'm going to share just something for 1 minute. I am the CEO of Empowered Fathers in Action. We are a 501c3 organization dedicated to helping, primarily at the time, helping fathers to step up in their roles, to be seen not just as financial providers for their families, but playing an instrumental role in helping them with the healthier development of their children, to be a better example, be a resource for them. We're also doing this for families because we believe that this societal change starts in the home. And it starts with you, the person, the parent, to do it for yourself, so then you can be a better example for your children to now become more self-confident adults that will now become our future leaders in our homes, our communities, and our businesses. I hope this information that I shared was helpful. And if you'd like any more information about Empowered Fathers in Action, you can visit us at efamovement.org. Thank you for the opportunity to serve, and it's been a pleasure to be here.